Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I think the obvious question is, what happened then? I mean, we did hear those reports. My coworker just asked about the jail confession. Their authorities used a fake inmate to get information, and the father confessed that he.
Well, see, that's not true. So I don't know where you. Well, no. See, this is what happens when you've got all these folks out there online and these keyboard warriors. You get a lot of misinformation, and what you just said is not true. It's misinformation.
Fellow content creator Ahmed Belioso, on the Tira, homie, is currently under attack for his efforts and involvement in the case of missing Emmanuel Haro. Riverside District Attorney Mike Heastron, alongside Riverside County Sheriff's Department and San Bernardino County, made several statements expressing their disdain for new media, even going as far as to call us keyboard warriors for the investigative research and journalism that we do daily. And needless to say, these derogative comments have stirred up mixed reactions in the true crime community, which we will cover today as we unpack the latest developments in the case of missing 7-month-old Emmanuel Haro. Shout out to the Rugerverse and all of my keyboard warriors. It is your boy Rick Ruger, and I want to give a special shout out to Ahmed Belioso. Thank you so much for pounding the pavement the way you have done since day one of this case in the efforts of trying to find baby Emmanuel. If it wasn't for you and many other content creators and streamers out there, we wouldn't have some of the footage that we have today, that we are able to study, analyze, and come up with different theories that may very well lead to solving this case. We appreciate everything you've done and hopefully will continue to do. Because I don't care what the district attorney says, and I don't care what the sheriff's department says. Us being out there, us covering the news, is a constitutionally protected activity. Because as members of local government, as sworn-in officers, you should not discourage the public from asking questions. Don't forget you are civil servants and you work for us. So yes, we will hold you accountable to make sure that our tax dollars are going to good use. And yes, we will continue to search for Emmanuel Haro. And yes, we will continue to do independent journalism, because if mainstream could be trusted, there will be no need for us. The people don't want to wait till 9 o'clock news to get their updates. The people don't want to see courtroom footage broken up and played as B-roll. And the people most definitely don't want their efforts discounted and to be called keyboard warriors for just trying to help. Because no matter how many hundreds of hours of manpower your California officers invested, guess what? They did the same thing last time and a baby beater walked free. So this go around, we will put a spotlight on this case, and we will hold these officers accountable, and we will make sure that you're expending every ounce of resources that you have when it comes to finding 7-month-old Emmanuel Haro. And if the district attorney's office or the sheriff department has a problem with what we're doing, I encourage you to step down. And for those of you that hang on to every word these people said at that press conference, I encourage you to believe nothing you hear and half of what you see. Because just because the district attorney says that something didn't happen doesn't mean that that is a fact. There is certain information related to this case that police are not obliged to release to the public. Brian Enton of News Nation, who is a very reputable reporter, stated that the Perkins operation was something that was told to him by one of his sources. And there were several people in the comments of the last video that told me that I was reporting fake news, all because District Attorney got up there on the podium and said that it didn't happen. So you take that as a fact? Jake Haro's red jumpsuit that he's in represents total separation in the county jail that he's housed at currently. So yes, that does mean that he's not around other inmates due to the fact that he's at high risk of being assaulted. That does not mean, however, that he has not had contact or been around other inmates at any time. A Perkins operation does not have to be executed within the confinement of a cell. This can be an inmate that he was sat next to in the booking area. This can be an inmate that just happened to be in the holding tank while he was waiting to go inside the courtroom. This can even be a trustee that brings him his food and puts it through the flap. Somebody that could have befriended him and talked to him through his flap That still would mean that he's totally separated from other inmates. The only way they can talk to him is through the door or through the flap. When I served my time in prison, I was in isolation for about a year. That doesn't mean I didn't talk to anybody for a year. Some people just get caught up in these terms like isolation, separation, and what? You think Jake Haro is just being kept in some bubble on an island all by himself? No, he's still around other inmates. He's not in the principal's office. It just literally means he's in a cell by himself. But guess what? There are other inmates in the neighboring cells. And everybody gets their time individually. When you have to shower, you also have time to make a phone call. And in between this time, that is when other inmates will go to certain cell doors and talk to their friends, or go to a cell door and pass things through the flap from one inmate to another. So when they say total separation, you have to realize these things, a Perkins operation can still happen. It's not that he's being completely separated from everybody. They just can't physically get to him. So when I hear the district attorney and the sheriff's office calling us fake news and keyboard warriors, I make mental note of that. Because guess what, Sheriff? You'll be running for governor pretty soon, won't you? And since you believe mainstream media is the only ones that ever get it right, I want to see what you do when those liberal news stations turn against you. And then you'll be looking for a person like Ahmed Belioso on the ground, on that Tira, homie, to look out and to speak up for you. Because now you pinned yourself in a corner to where we're going to remember this. So when mainstream media starts going against you, guess what? They'll have the help of every single keyboard warrior out there. We'll remember the way that you handled this case, and then not only that, you guys want us to turn a blind eye and to put all our faith in the legal system of California. Gavin Newsom's California. The same California that's been burning down, and your senator keeps on rejecting bills to bring more water into your state. In the same California that has a judge sitting on the bench that looked at the case files, he reviewed the photos of a child with only 3% brain capacity left and looked in the face of Jake Haro and said, I'm gonna cut you an extra break. And you want us to trust that? So if caring about the children of America makes us keyboard warriors, then so be it. So I'll be a keyboard warrior. If that means standing up for victims of abuse and people that have been silenced and can't speak for themselves, I'll be a keyboard warrior. These people will pave the way for TMZ and their cameras, but try to push aside people like Ahmed Belioso, who have given us raw footage holding these people accountable every step of the way. And TMZ, you got some mother effing nerve. Because to take Ahmed's footage, use it as your own, and then call him an amateur, that sounds like an amateur move to me. And then you hit him with a cease and desist. Hear me and hear me clearly. I don't care what scare tactics you use to try to run us all off this case, because for every one of you, there's 1,000 of us. I sat there and watched Ahmed Belioso stand there in the heat, recording, giving us footage of Jake when he was taking the police to a possible location of the remains. All the way up until he passed out. Because while he's desperately trying to help find baby Emmanuel, he's also battling cancer. So you've got some mother-loving nerve rage baiting the people up until the point where they're sending him death threats. Even going as far as to send him a cease and desist letter because you're jealous that you didn't break the news first. Harvey Levin and his team are nothing but a bunch of grifters. And in today's time, you can find TMZ magazines alongside a fucking National Enquirer. Because there are real people that really care and are really invested in finding baby Emmanuel. And all you care about is the next big story. And the people that really care and that are really concerned about finding this missing child do not want to read it beside an article about whose dick Kim Kardashian is sucking. So you can team up with Walmart and your daddy, Fox News, and we will still outnumber you. Because we speak the truth and we speak for the ones that are silenced. And if that makes us keyboard warriors, then so be it. Jake Haro is a habitual liar. He's a pathological liar, and you cannot believe a word that comes out of his mouth. So did he confess to another inmate? I do believe he did. Did he tell him the truth about rolling over on the baby by accident? Hell no. This was no accident. This was very intentional. But Jake Haro is a narcissist. And do you think when talking to another man that he's proud of what the fuck he did? So no, he's not gonna tell him the brutal beating that he gave this child. He's gonna make it seem like it was an accident. I did it by mistake. Because he knows that no real man or woman on this earth will respect what he does to women and children. And as far as that jailhouse interview he did is concerned, I don't believe a single word that came out of his mouth. This weirdo brought up the 2023 charge of child cruelty, and he's still not taking accountability for what he did to his daughter. He's still blaming his ex-wife and going as far as to say that it was because he didn't have the money to go to trial, so he decided to plead guilty. And now he's playing victim again, saying, oh, the police flung me on the floor and hurt my shoulder, when all I was trying to do is tell my wife I love you when I saw her in passing. No, Jake, you were trying to tell her something in code. You were trying to further manipulate her, and that's why they reprimanded you on the spot. Because how can I believe that you were trying to go out of your way to tell Rebecca that you love her when you were just in the courtroom with her and you wouldn't even look her way? You are a monster and you are full of ish, and I see straight through it. So when I heard you say, oh, they hurt my shoulder, I said they should have broke that ish. Shout out to the Rugaverse and all of my superstars. It is your boy Reek Ruga, and please hit the like button if you've enjoyed this content and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. And on the way out, let's hear a couple highlights from this week's press conference.
No, see, this is what happens when you've got all these folks out there online and these keyboard warriors. You get a lot of misinformation, and what you just said is not true. It's misinformation. So that's what I'll tell you did not happen.
Okay, but
Okay.
you did say what? There's no information as to.
I can't talk about the facts of the case. Well, no, I'm giving you information about baby Emmanuel. I'm giving you information about the cases and the investigation, but what you just said did not happen. So, you know, that's not, I can't be responsible for when you guys get it wrong. Go ahead.
I know you have not found the remains yet, but based on the level of cooperation of the suspects and what you know so far, is the strong likelihood that remain.
And now we're all traumatized by it. We were all in this room a couple of years ago when I had a deputy murdered because someone was out on the street that should have been life in prison, but a judge let them go.
Not so much for social media and keyboard warriors who, quite honestly, sometimes hamper and prevent us from a good investigation.